Have you ever wondered how grandmothers managed to cook nourishing meals every day without mixers, microwaves, timers, or even reliable ovens? Before we dive into the story, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our nostalgic kitchen stories, and leave a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from today. Before kitchens were filled with blinking lights, digital displays, and machines that told you exactly what to do, cooking relied on something far more reliable: human senses. Grandmothers didn't need gadgets to guide them. They carried the knowledge in their bodies, built from years of repetition and necessity. Every meal was shaped by awareness, patience, and skill that no appliance could replace. Judging doneness by smell instead of a timer was one of the most important instincts. Food spoke through aroma long before it ever looked ready. Raw vegetables had a sharp green scent that softened as they cooked. Meat released a heavy, iron-like smell at first, which slowly transformed into something rich and savory as it browned and cooked through. Bread filled the house with a warm, comforting aroma when it was nearly done. Grandmothers trusted these signals completely. A timer could fail, but the nose never lied. Testing oven heat with a hand or a scrap of paper was a daily practice. Without temperature dials, they briefly slid a hand into the oven and counted seconds before the heat became uncomfortable. A quick count meant high heat. A slower count meant moderate warmth. Sometimes a piece of paper was placed inside to see how quickly it browned or curled. These small tests gave instant feedback. Over time, judging oven temperature became instinctive. Feeling when bread dough was ready without a thermometer was another deeply tactile skill. Dough was pressed gently with fingers. If it slowly sprang back, it was ready. If it collapsed, it needed more time. The warmth of the dough told them if fermentation had done its job. This method required no tools, only familiarity. Their hands recognized readiness the same way a musician recognizes a note. Cooking over an open fire with movable pots demanded constant attention. Pans were shifted closer to the flames for boiling and farther away for gentle simmering. Flames were watched carefully, and pots were adjusted instinctively. There were no knobs, only movement. Grandmothers learned to read fire, its color, its sound, its strength, and adjust instantly to keep food from burning or boiling over. Using residual heat to finish cooking was both practical and clever. After removing a pot, the lingering warmth of the stove or hearth was used to gently cook vegetables or keep dishes warm. This allowed flavors to settle and prevented overcooking. It also saved fuel, which was precious. Food often tasted better because it was allowed to rest rather than rushed. Using a single wood stove as oven, stovetop, and warming station turned one heat source into the heart of the household. Different areas of the stove offered different temperatures. Soup simmered in one spot, bread baked inside, and plates stayed warm nearby. Grandmothers knew exactly where each dish belonged. Managing this required skill, memory, and constant motion, turning cooking into a rhythm that matched daily life. Beating and mixing entirely by hand was simply normal. Eggs were whisked with forks, cream was whipped by hand, and batters were stirred carefully to avoid toughness. Grandmothers listened to the sound of the spoon against the bowl and watched how textures changed. Their arms might tire, but they felt when a mixture was right. Machines weren't needed because experience did the work. Kneading dough with the warmth of the hands instead of a machine was the first step in making bread, pastry, or dumplings come alive. The hands felt the texture and elasticity change as gluten developed, knowing exactly when the dough had reached the perfect consistency. If the dough felt sticky or too firm, a few drops of water or a sprinkle of flour would correct it. Every fold, push, and turn was measured by feel rather than by any clock or device. Beating eggs with a simple fork to incorporate air was a daily ritual. There were no electric mixers, no mechanical whisks, only the rhythm of the arm and the speed of the wrist. Eggs became light and frothy under steady movement, their volume increasing with each deliberate stroke. This was a skill that required patience and control. Too fast, and the eggs could curdle. Too slow, and they wouldn't reach the airy texture necessary for cakes or soufflés. Smoothing sauces through careful pan movement rather than a whisk or blender was another subtle but essential skill. The sauce thickened gradually, and it was the tilting, swirling, and gentle agitation of the pan that ensured a silky, lump-free texture. Grandmothers relied on their eyes to detect imperfections, and their hands to feel the consistency, making each sauce not just edible, but remarkable. Grinding herbs between fingers to release their aroma was an art in itself. No food processor or mortar and pestle was required. A grandmother's fingertips could crush and release the essential oils locked in rosemary, thyme, or sage. The smell immediately filled the kitchen, signaling that the herbs were ready to be added to a dish. This simple tactile method often produced more fragrance than modern mechanical tools could ever achieve. Cutting vegetables by feel rather than measurement created a rhythm in the kitchen. Hands guided knives with instinct, producing pieces of varying sizes that balanced texture and cooking time naturally. There was no need for precise rulers or gadgets. The right size was learned by touch, sight, and understanding how each vegetable would cook. Carrots, onions, and potatoes were prepared intuitively, producing meals that were visually appealing and perfectly cooked. Sifting flour by letting it fall gently between fingers was another technique that relied on touch rather than mechanical devices. This method ensured aeration and prevented clumps, while allowing the cook to feel the texture of the flour. The motion became almost meditative, hands continuously separating, releasing, and sprinkling the flour until it reached the desired fineness, creating the perfect base for bread, pastries, and cakes. Making tough cuts of meat tender by slow simmering for hours was an essential skill. A pot of beef shanks, pork shoulder, or mutton, placed gently over a gentle flame, transformed gradually. The heat broke down fibers while infusing the broth with flavor. Grandmothers knew precisely when to adjust the fire or add water, understanding that patience was just as important as seasoning. Meat that could have been dry and chewy became rich, succulent, and comforting without a timer or thermometer. Cooking multiple dishes simultaneously around a single heat source required both strategy and instinct. A sturdy pot might be used for soup, while bread baked nearby, and vegetables simmered in another corner of the hearth. Different zones of heat were mapped by feel and observation rather than numbers. Grandmothers moved pots carefully, judged which dishes needed more attention, and orchestrated a full meal as if conducting a symphony. This multitasking allowed them to feed the family efficiently while using minimal fuel. Using the color of flour and butter to guide the preparation of a roux was another subtle art. Before digital thermometers or timers, they relied on sight and smell. Butter slowly melted, then foamed, and flour was gradually added. As it changed from pale to golden brown, they knew exactly when to add liquid to thicken a sauce. Too light, and the roux lacked flavor; too dark, and it risked bitterness. It was an intuitive process, honed through years of repetition. Recognizing doneness by the sound in the pan replaced clocks or timers entirely. The sizzle of onions, the gentle bubbling of a simmering stew, or the quiet whisper of melting fat told them everything they needed to know. Each sound corresponded to a stage of cooking, signaling when to stir, adjust heat, or add ingredients. This skill developed naturally through years of attentive observation. Using lid strategies to control moisture was another clever technique. Covering a pot tightly trapped steam for soft vegetables or tender meat. Leaving it slightly ajar allowed liquids to reduce without scorching the bottom. Grandmothers understood precisely how moisture behaved under heat and adjusted covers intuitively, producing perfectly textured dishes without complicated equipment. Maintaining low heat to prevent burning was an exercise in patience and observation. Flames were monitored constantly, pots were shifted subtly, and attention never wavered. Even the smallest misstep could ruin an entire meal, so every movement was deliberate. They relied on the slow, steady application of heat to coax flavors from ingredients rather than rush the process. Using day and night rhythms as cooking time was a remarkable strategy. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner weren't just times of day. They were markers for simmering, rising, and baking schedules. Dough was left to rest while the family went about morning chores. A stew simmered gently over the afternoon, and bread rose by evening. Cooking became part of daily life, guided by natural cycles rather than clocks. Reducing dishes by planning the order of pans was one of the quietest efficiencies. Grandmothers would cook multiple elements in the same pot or pan, washing only what was necessary. A stew pot could double as a boiling vessel for vegetables, then as a serving dish. Using one pan for several tasks not only saved water and labor, but also minimized heat loss, keeping the kitchen warm and cozy. Conserving fuel through heat planning was another crucial strategy. Fires were slow to start and took time to maintain, so arranging cooking tasks by how they used heat became second nature. For instance, items that required high heat were cooked first while coals were hottest. Then the remaining dishes were gently simmered or baked using residual warmth. This method ensured every bit of energy was maximized, something modern kitchens rarely need to consider. Simple techniques that required no equipment, like hand whisking, stirring with a wooden spoon, or folding dough by hand, remind us that skill often surpasses convenience. These practices encouraged mindfulness, attention to texture, and awareness of timing in ways appliances can never replicate. Even without mixers or blenders, a grandmother could create perfectly whipped cream, smooth sauces, or tender bread because she understood the motion, pressure, and rhythm required. Adapting cooking to the resources at hand was the ultimate survival strategy. Grandmothers used what was available: garden vegetables, preserved fruits, leftover meat, or even peels and scraps. Recipes were flexible, ingredients were interchangeable, and waste was minimal. This mindset of improvisation allowed families to eat well, even when circumstances were tight. A lesson that resonates in modern kitchens, especially for anyone trying to reduce waste or stretch a budget. Reliably consistent methods that stood the test of generations illustrate the enduring value of these tricks. While appliances and gadgets come and go. These approaches to cooking, judging doneness by sight or smell, using residual heat, layering flavors slowly, and combining efficiency with intuition, continue to work. They remind us that good cooking is rooted in understanding ingredients, heat, and timing, rather than relying solely on technology. In an age where convenience often overshadows technique, these numbered strategies show that the wisdom of grandmothers remains relevant. They teach patience, economy, and resourcefulness, and they prove that cooking doesn't have to be complicated to be extraordinary. By integrating these old tricks into modern life, we gain not just better meals, but also a deeper appreciation for the craft and care that shaped generations. Long before gadgets and gizmos, grandmothers already mastered what it means to cook with skill, care, and intelligence, and their lessons still guide kitchens today. We've now explored all 25 genius cooking tricks grandmothers used before kitchen gadgets existed. If this journey through the hands-on, resourceful, and intuitive methods of the past has inspired you, think about trying one of these techniques in your own kitchen. Share your favorite memory or experiment with us in the comments. What old-fashioned trick would you bring back? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more nostalgic stories and practical history lessons, and join us as we continue to celebrate the wisdom, creativity, and heart behind these timeless cooking skills.